Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you. We have a lot to talk about today. I've been going back and forth. I don't, not exactly sure which way to start this. We've got President Obama is just pouring gasoline on Donald Trump and lighting him on fire. Donald Trump isn't going to be able to help himself. He just isn't going to be able to help himself. He is going to have an absolute fit and fall back. I got a few clips to show you from that. But then I've also got Donald Trump talking at the Detroit Economic Forum. And, Operation Let the Dumbass Talk is working flawlessly. I mean, it's just amazing how much you just can't entertain the idea of this guy actually being president of the United States when you hear him talk. It's just amazing. It's why they won't let him debate. Anyways, folks, I'm still trying to figure out which way to go into it first, and we'll just dive in and see how it fleshes out. Anyways, thank you, Sherry Foster, right out the gate for the support. Let's fill our cups, grab a pen and paper. Hopefully we'll have time for a round table at the end. Let's do this. Well, yeah, I tell you, folks, we are really, let's just come right out the gate with Barack Obama talking, just baiting Donald Trump here. This will just set the tone for what we're talking about. Barack Obama has run out of F's to give. He just has, and it's fantastic. This is at a rally in Pittsburgh where he's supporting Kamala Harris. He's out there on the trail. It's just. Watch.
Or a car seat. Or diapers. I remember buying diapers. I remember the first time I went in the store, right after Malia was born. I was like, what? That's how much diapers cost? I remember changing diapers. You think Donald Trump ever changed the diaper?
Listen to the crowd. Just his.
Yeah. I almost said that, but I decided I shouldn't say it.
Oh my God. He went there. He went there. Yeah. Yeah, that's just a little soupçon, little taste of what Barack Obama was laying down in Pittsburgh. The guy is a magnificent orator. He really is. He's intelligent. It just amazes me going from the Obama presidency and how proud we could be of America and a president that was so intelligent and capable. To Trump, it was such a culture shock. It was like, this is really what you people want. I mean, listen to Trump speak for a second. I mean, you have to forgive. This is a little bit of it's a little over a minute, but just listen to the man talk.
A very big plant. Many countries, they do that, and then all of a sudden you hear that they're leaving Milwaukee or they're leaving wherever they may be located. It's very sad to see it. And it's so simple. I mean, This isn't like Elon with his rocket ships that land within 12 inches on the moon where they wanted to land. Or he gets the engines back. That was the first I realized. I said, who the hell did that? I saw engines about 3-4 years ago. These things were coming, cylinders, no wings, no nothing. And they're coming down very slowly, landing on a raft in the middle of the ocean someplace with a circle. Boom. Reminded me of the Biden circles that he used to have, right? He'd have 8 circles and he couldn't fill them up. But then I heard he beat us with the popular vote. I don't know. I don't know. Couldn't fill up the 8 circles. I always loved those circles. They were so beautiful. They were so beautiful to look at. In fact, the person that did them, that was the best thing about the level of that circle was great. But they couldn't get people, so they used to have the press stand in those circles because they couldn't get the people. Then I heard we lost. Oh, we lost. No, we're never going to let that happen again. But we've been abused by other countries. We've been abused by our own politicians.
Keep doing that to myself, hitting that mute button. Forgive me. Ken, I appreciate the support, man. Thank you. But yeah, he has no idea what he's trying to say. It's like he doesn't prepare for these. You're going to the Detroit Economic Forum. This isn't hard, folks. You know, I do public speaking. Who's my audience? What's the subject matter? You get bullet points and you go with it. You have a series of 4 or 5 points. You refresh your memory. You gather the information that you need to speak on. And you just do it. You just do it. It's not that hard. And this guy is so freaking lazy that he thinks he can just show up. I mean, folks, you know, we're in the last 3 weeks of the campaign. What are we, like 25 days out? Thanks for the support, Jamie. I appreciate Jamie, I appreciate you, man. Mr. Wesgowski, I appreciate you. But yeah, I mean, you're going to something that's obviously, I mean, this is it. This is it, folks. This is the stretch. This is October. This is when everything is laser focused on you. And that's the best he could do. I mean, the guy can't put in the work. He can't do the job. It was just, I mean, it was sad. I mean, just sad listening to him talk. I mean, it was just rambling nonsense about stupid things. And he cannot get over Kamala Harris. She put a dig in him about people leaving the rallies. He has never gotten over that. This is something he says everywhere he goes. He never got over this.
No, sir. They love it. And I haven't noticed anybody leaving. There was one gentleman over there, but he came back. He went to the bathroom. And what the fake news will do is take a picture of one empty seat, say, people are fleeing. No, they don't flee. Nobody's fleeing. Nobody's leaving. I always watch. If they start to leave, I just end the speech. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to make America great again. Enjoy yourself. No, sir. They love it. And I haven't noticed any.
Just insane. Just insane. God. Jerry, I don't drink coffee, but I'm glad everyone loves their coffee. Hey, man, tea, coffee, whatever gets you through in the morning, man, just as long as you're here for the conversation. I mean, that's the whole point of it. ET says, why put in the work when your plan is to steal the election? I mean, no kidding. I mean, it's like, it's so painfully obvious. He's just here for the grift. He's just here I mean, he thinks I'm really at a loss. I'm rarely at a loss for words. Randy Oliver, thank you, man. Says, let's turn the page. Vote blue. Amen, brother. I'm with you. But I was sitting there watching these this morning, and I'm like, okay, what's a good commentary? Do your job, man. What's a good commentary? And I can't get in the man's head. I can't do it. I can't figure out, okay, it's October. I'm going to repeat myself here. Lori Yates says he's actually worse. Yeah, it's October. I'm running for president. And this is the way I try to do it. This is the way I try to put my commentary together. Get in the man's head. Okay, it's October. I'm running for president. I need to talk to the Detroit Economic Forum. Obviously, we're going to talk about the economy. Obviously, it's Detroit. We're going to talk about the auto industry. It's the home of the American auto industry. This is what I bring? No. He obviously did no preparation. I mean, just the foolishness, the idiocy, the disrespect. I mean, how little respect do you have to sit there, take your hat off, throw it in the ring and say, I want to be president of the United States, but you can't even bother in October to just prepare your statements. Just that little bit of work. I mean, Christ, man. And just to be honest with you, it's so frustrating to me because the comparison between him speaking and the preparation from President Obama, former President Obama, to Trump is just, it's mind-blowing. Dwayne Custer here says, the guy is a brick short of a load. Passed my dissertation defense yesterday. What? Texas Paul this morning, happy National Coming Out Day. Congratulations, Dwayne, man. Congratulations on defending your dissertation. I'm very proud for you, man. I know that's a lot of stress. And you know what I mean about preparation. I just got so pissed off watching this morning. It's like, it's offensive. It's offensive. It's really freaking offensive. And I don't know what I'm more offended at. Am I more offended that Donald freaking Trump is so damn lazy that he can't bother to prepare for his own appearances? Or am I more pissed off at MAGA? Oh, he's the best president ever. We need that back. What? Christ, man. Give me a break. Give me a damn break. I remember this guy. I remember when this was our president.
And then, don't boo. I'm going to break you of this habit. And the reason some people think, wow, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good because it was my economy. We had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did. I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time. So just in case everybody has a hazy memory, he didn't do nothing except those big tax cuts.
My man Barrack, I am telling you, tuck front, man. I'm telling you, that guy is just, and Barack's not running for anything. I mean, who prepared and who did not prepare? Barack Obama knows what the hell he's talking about. And again, I'm rarely at a loss for words. I am rarely at a loss for words. And this right here, because you know me, folks, history's my thing. I love history. I really love history. If you know even a cursory amount of history, if you paid attention just the smallest amount, you will know how freaking horrifying this is. This is Donald Trump in his revisionist history. It just shows you how wrong he is about everything and why he can never be president.
Be a very wealthy country very quickly, very, very quickly. You know, our greatest wealth probably proportionately was in the 1880s and 90s and the early 1900s, where we had so much cash, they would set up committees. They didn't know what to do with their wealth. We had such wealth in this country. They didn't know what to do with their wealth. They had no, they would set up, we had so much money, all from tariffs. There was no income tax. And then they went to the income tax stuff, and it was a whole different story. Then you had the Depression. A lot of people said, oh, tariffs, maybe because it wasn't, tariffs came in 1932 after the Depression. They tried putting tariffs on to see if they could save. They said, we got to save this thing. But it would be a very wealthy.
He has no clue. He has no clue what was going on in the 1880s. He has no clue what was going on. None of it. He is just an imbecile. Brian Pescia says, less than a month. I really hope my neighbors and my friends down south do what is best for their country. A Democratic government will be a sigh of relief for the whole world. Texas Paul, love from Canada. Man, I'm glad you're here, my friend. I'm glad you're here. Robert Walsh, thanks for the support, brother. I appreciate you. I love our international audience. I mean, it's so good having the different points of view, the different opinions. You know, our live chat, this is the best community anywhere on the internet. Trina Longa, thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Texas Paul, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Again, talking about our international audience. You want to know what drove our economy in the 1880s? Just a Cliff's Notes. I'm not going to run into history class. I get it. But you want to know what drove our economy in the 1880s? What Trump was talking about? It wasn't tariffs. It wasn't tariffs. It was immigration. Immigration is what drove our economy. We were in the second industrial revolution. This is Ellis Island, the heyday of Ellis Island. That's what drove our economy. That's what drove our economy. In huge part was immigration, and a little thing that happened in the 1850s, 1860s, and it takes a decade or two for industries to grow up and really reap. But this happened. This is what was happening. The birth of the American oil industry. Yes, railroads. I mean, you people get it. You people get it. The birth of the American oil industry. And, I've told you before, every good lie has a kernel of truth. And he said, oh, well, there wasn't income taxes. It was all tariffs. Yeah, that's accurate. But that's not why any of this was happening. Tariffs or the taxation system has not a damn thing to do with a brand new oil industry that just came up. Yes, Carol, the steel industry. U.S., I mean, just all of the robber barons made their fortunes during this time. Their economic, if you look at the late 1800s in Europe versus the United States, we had a country with a massively growing population. We had economic problems in Europe, which opened the door for our industrial development. That globalism thing. There were a lot of things that contributed to a great economy. On top of it, it was a relatively peaceful time up until, mid 1910 to 20s. That was pretty rough right there. World War I. The government didn't have anything to spend on. They weren't building a military. You remember going into World War I, we really didn't have we had an industry, but we didn't have a military to speak of. And the government didn't do anything else. You remember we were having the discussion in the last show, we were talking about the Tylenol scare, talking about, hey, you ever worry about your steak killing you? No. You want to know a big reason why? During this time that Donald Trump remembers so fondly and is so telling as to this, why they want to go back to this, why they tried to destroy everything. This is a perfect example. And this is what I say, Operation Let the Dumbass Talk, because they will tell us what they want. I love you folks. Just do a little question. Anybody recognize this man? I know y'all are the smartest people around. I know y'all are going to get this right away. Anybody recognize this man? I love those questions. Give me a chance to drink some coffee. That's Upton Sinclair. It's Upton Sinclair. He's the author of The Jungle. If you've never read The Jungle, read it. Read it. It talks about industry at the time. Talks about what was going on in the meatpacking industry. And the reason I bring it up is because, yeah, Donald Trump's talking about, oh, they had so much cash, they didn't know what to do with it because they weren't doing anything. They weren't regulating anything. That's what led us into the Great Depression. Is the government wasn't spending any money on anything to do anything, regulating anything. Let me tell you something. The Upton Sinclair novel, The Jungle, is so graphic about the meatpacking industry here in the United States during this time period that it's rumored, it's a long-standing story that Teddy Roosevelt here was sitting in the White House over breakfast. He was an avid reader. That's why people believe this very clearly. Matthew Preble, they're playing delay. Yeah, I hear you, brother. I hear you. But Teddy Roosevelt was reading The Jungle in the morning. They brought him his breakfast, and he got to a excerpt in The Jungle where they talked about the poison squads. See, the meatpacking industry had a huge rodent problem. They didn't have regulation. They didn't have inspectors. They didn't have anybody coming in. They were filthy, full of rats. So they would take bread and poison it and throw it all around the factory. Let the rodents eat it and they'd die. Then they would pick up the rodent, they would pick up the poisoned bread, and they would throw it in the sausage hopper. And when Teddy Roosevelt read this, he started chucking his breakfast out the window and hit a senator with one of the sausages. That's a long-standing story. But yeah, Donald Trump sitting there talking about the good old days of the 80s. We had so much money. Yeah, we had so much money because, yeah, the stupid taxation system we had, the tariff system, couldn't choke to death something like, I don't know, a brand new oil industry. I mean, think about that. You know how much money the oil industry makes today. Imagine when it first came out. I mean, that's like buying freaking Google stock when it was at its first IPO. And this moron wants to be president. Talking about inferring that the income tax caused the Great Depression. No. Great Depression was caused by an unregulated stock market. Caused the stock market crash in 1929. It was caused by a banking panic because, again, the federal government was doing nothing. They weren't regulating banks. And Herbert Hoover didn't react. When the crash started to happen, the government was doing nothing. It did nothing except one horribly stupid thing. They passed the Smoot-Hawley tariffs. Because like Donald Trump today, back then, these same morons were like, hey, you know what? You know what'll fix that? Tariff. I got a sore knee, rub a tariff on it. But, we teach every high schooler how stupid that was. I mean, this is just proof. This guy didn't actually go to Wharton. This is why he won't release his grades from Wharton. His daddy paid his way through. I'll bet you dollars to donuts. His daddy paid his way through Wharton. He did not go to Wharton because every freaking high school kid has been taught the economic lesson. In the middle of a financial crisis, you damn sure don't you choke the economy with a tariff, because that's all tariffs do. Joseph, my man, thank you. I appreciate you. Part of our international audience. Glad you're here, Mr. Galati. Greg Giles says he's so, yeah. I mean, just it's so frustrating and insulting to listen to this guy talk. Yeah, that is true, actually. Jerry reading here's thanks for the support, and two, this is actually true. One of Trump's professors from Wharton has actually said this, sat down with a reporter and said this, that Donald Trump was the absolute stupidest student he ever had. And the corporate press, they just shrug this shit off. Like it's not important. This guy talking about an economic policy talking about an economic policy that is just freaking disastrous. And you'll get like a one-line blurb that's like, 5 seconds in an evening broadcast. Well, economists have evaluated both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump's economic plans, and they say Kamala Harris's plan, while yes, it will add to the debt, will grow our economy substantially. Donald Trump's plan will cause an economic disaster. And oh, by the way, singer such and such just has a beef with this singer over here, and let's talk about that instead. Seems somewhat important to me. Wolf McBastard says 50% of the U.S. reads at the 5th grade level, and it shows. Oh, man, George Carlin was so right when he said, think about how stupid the average American is, and then realize that half of them are dumber than that. Yeah, I mean, it's just, wow. I don't mean to disparage, I don't, but it really is a problem, folks. It really is. We thought the internet was going to fix everything. The access to information was our problem, that people didn't have access to good information and they didn't have the availability to just look it up. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. That wasn't the problem. But I just want you to compare this. I mean, just compare. This was Barack Obama's closing statement. Just compare it.
Real strength is about working hard and carrying a heavy load without complaining. Real strength is about taking responsibility for your actions and telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Real strength is about helping people who need it and standing up for those who can't always stand up for themselves. That is what we should want for our daughters and for our sons. And that is what I want to see in a president of the United States of America. And the good news is that you have candidates to vote for in this election that demonstrate that kind of character, who know what real strength looks like, who will set a good example and do the right thing and lead this country better than they found it. So, Pennsylvania, that is the choice in this election. It's not just about policies that are on the ballot. It is about values, and it is about character. So whether this election is making you feel excited or scared or hopeful or frustrated or anything in between, do not just sit back and hope for the best. Get off your couch and vote. Put down your phone and vote. Grab your friends and family and vote. Vote for Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. Vote for Tim Walz as the next vice president of the United States. Vote for Bob Casey and this whole incredible Pennsylvania Democratic ticket. Help your friends and family members and neighbors and co-workers do the same. Because if enough of us make our voices heard, we will leave no doubt about the election outcome. We'll leave no doubt about who we are and what America stands for. And together we'll keep building a country that's more fair and more equal and more just and more free. That is our task. That is our responsibility. Let's go do it. Thank you, Pittsburgh. Thank you, Pennsylvania. Let's go vote.
That's my man. That is my guy. That is my president right there. Peter Gamble says tariffs are paid by the consumer. The government gets a small percentage, 4% as an import duty. It can and never has been a substitute for a good fiscal policy. Amen, brother. It is, like I said, I've said it over again. I'm going to say it one more time. Tariffs are the nuclear option. If you are putting a tariff on, we know this. This is a science. Trade negotiations is a science. This isn't, back in the day when we just had a new burgeoning, industrial revolution no, we know this. It is a science. If you've reached the point where you are putting tariffs on each other, everything has gone wrong, because tariffs are incredibly hard to repeal once they're in place. Because what does the person that you're at war with, you're having a trade war with, because that's what it means when you're slapping tariffs on. You're now in a trade war. What do they do? They slap a tariff on your goods, which just complicates it, makes it so difficult to undo that mess. It's just stupidity. It's moronic. It is moronic. And speaking of moronic, Operation Let the Dumbass Talk.
That's up for whoever is going to be the next president. I think Kamala, it's not going to be high on her list. I don't think anything that we're talking about today is high on her list. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands. She destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed, along with Newsom, California. And
Just compare the two. Just compare the two. I mean, compare Donald Trump and Barack Obama in their messages for the country. I'm going to play you a couple clips in quick succession here because I just want to drive this point home. where again, here he's talking about more, tariffs. And how, he thinks that is somehow because somebody somewhere told him in the 1880s there were tariffs and that was a good time. So
tariff, because we're not going to let them come in to our country and destroy what's left of our auto industry, because it's a failing industry, just like it's a failing country right now. We're a failing country. We're a nation in decline. I hope you know that. Doesn't make me feel good to say it, but we're not going to be a nation in decline for very long. Perhaps tariff, because we're not.
I don't know about you, but I'm really sick of this. I'm really sick of this stick. This stick. I am. I'm just done with it. The American auto industry is doing amazing. The Japanese auto industry manufactures cars here. Honda, Toyota. And no, Trump didn't do that. No, Trump didn't do that. I'm really sick of this jerk off running our country down at every freaking turn. It's insane. It is just insane that there are human beings that look at this and want this.
Your car industry is going out of business. It's going out of business. Nothing to do with me. I stopped that. I stopped Mexico, which is becoming the second China. I stopped Mexico from taking your car plants and moving them into Mexico and taking all of that business, making it in Mexico. So we lose all your car industry.
I don't know if he's that stupid or he thinks his followers are that stupid, but I'm going to tell you right now, the auto industry is global. He didn't stop crap. GM, Ford, they have parts plants in Mexico. They have assembly plants in Mexico. They have assembly plants in Canada with our friends to the north. They have parts plants in Canada, our friends to the north. They make engine blocks in Hungary. This is a global industry, and this moron is talking about, I stopped Mexico, I stopped the auto plants, becoming the new China. Oh my God. We're 3 weeks from the election, folks. We're 3 weeks from the election. And, Donald Trump has a very important message for you to take into this election.
It's a little bit that, I think, more than anything else. And I enjoy what I do. And I love this, despite I could be right now in the most beautiful ocean on the sand, exposing my really beautiful body. So beautiful. To the sun and the surf. Skin cancer, right? To the sun and the surf all over the world. And or I could be in Detroit with you, and I'd rather be in Detroit with you. Okay.
That's great. Thanks.
It's a little bit that.
Yeah. I got no use for somebody that doesn't know what the Dust Bowl was, doesn't understand the economic, the agricultural depression we had that caused, I like my presidents to understand a bit of history. I like my presidents to understand the effects of world wars. I like my presidents to understand basic economic policy. I like my presidents to, have some humanity. I just, folks, exactly. And enough is enough. This is tired. This is old. The last time I looked, we've had a dozen people died in Hurricane Milton. And I want to say we do have some good news. Our folks from Florida that are regulars in the show they're okay. They're good. They're good. They made it through okay. Jeanette Dahl says they want to remove voters from the voting rolls. It's the only way they can try to win. Exactly, because what are they offering? I mean, you're welcome. The dude, appreciate the support, my man. I can't do the show without you. I appreciate you. I won't play it because I'm sick of hearing his voice. I'm just done with it. I got another clip here. He insults Detroit. He's at the Detroit Economic Forum. If Kamala Harris wins, the whole country's going to be like this shithole. Standing there talking to Detroit, the people of Detroit, and yeah, exactly. They clapped, they cheered. These people, these MAGA people are insane. He really said that. He did. If Kamala Harris wins, the whole country's going to be like Detroit. It's going to be horrible. This is real. This is October. This is what a guy who said, you know what? I want to be president of the United States. I want to be president of the United States. This is what he brought to the Detroit Economic Forum. And the juxtaposition between a Democrat and a Republican, they can't be clearer. They can't be clearer. And the corporate media is so desperate to make it through to this election, still getting their ad money, still, and this just goes to show you, billionaires are not inherently brilliant people. They are not. These people are still writing ad checks. The corporate media's desperate attempt to try to make this look like a horse race when there's just no comparison between the two by trying to say things like, oh, Kamala Harris is, her economic plan absolutely will cause our economy to take off like a rocket. 100%, every economist says that. But she laughs. I mean, are the American people going to be able to handle a president that laughs? I mean, come on, people. Come on. I mean, this is ridiculous. And it's not just Trump. That's the thing. It's not just Trump. Kudos to the Arizona Democratic Party. There was a debate between Kari Lake and Ruben Gallego. And Ruben Gallego just destroyed Kari Lake. And the Arizona Democratic Party put together just a super clip. Just a short little, they condensed it down. It is just fantastic. I'm going to play it for you real quick. It's not just Trump. I mean, just compare the two, the Democrat versus the Republican.
Will you finally tell the people of Arizona, did you win or lose that election?
Can I talk about water? I want to make sure that UVF is protected. I have many friends who are here. They're my friends today because of UVF. And
she said that multiple times. That was not just a oops, I made a mistake. It's IVF, of course, in vitro fertilization. But she called it UVF multiple times.
And I have many of my friends who have had children and experienced the joy of motherhood and parenthood because of UVF.
And then when she was disappointed to find out that the 1864 law, again, the one that had no exceptions for rape or incest, was not going to get enforced, she said, well, I hope the sheriffs will do their jobs. Can you imagine?
It's not true.
And I absolutely love this, that they're backing it all up with headlines.
This is who she is. Mm-hmm. And I think that is her personality. I think it's worn thin on a bunch of the electorate who wants more.
Will you finally tell?
The operation, just let the dumbasses talk. Just let them talk. Just let them tell you what they want. I mean, that's the whole thing, folks. That's the whole thing. Just the reality of it. And I got to tell you, when I was sitting there watching these videos, preparing, I don't know about you. You know, this is a good time to go into the round table. We've got plenty of time left. But when you're watching this, I don't know about you, but, you know, I think about, what am I going to do? Let's say the most horrible thing in the world happens and Donald Trump ends up being president. What am I going to do when they start setting up camps and they start locking up people like me and my family and they start doing everything that we're saying that they're going to do? Nationwide universal abortion bans, and we're watching our wives and our daughters die, or you know, we're trying to, they're throwing them in jail because they're trying to book international travel so that they can go somewhere to get the health care that they need. What are we going to do? What is my reaction going to be? Political Musings with Amy Manuel says, in one of the trials, someone testified they were paying for positive polls in 2016, doing it again. Absolutely. Absolutely. Barbara Lanke, his enablers are as guilty as he is. They are. 100%. But, you know, before we go to a round trip, I really want to finish this thought up. I appreciate that. And I want you to think about that in reality. Okay, Trump is president. And they're doing this. They're gutting the DOJ. They've gutted the military leadership. We're seeing The Handmaid's Tale in real life. What are you going to do? What is your reaction? And I know a lot of people are, you know, in reality, pardon me, misspoke there. In reality, most people won't do anything. They won't. That history is not driven by the masses. History is driven by a few people that stand up. And if you're one of those people, what are you going to do? And think about that, and just let that soak in for a little bit. Let that affect your mood. Linda Lee, I appreciate you. Thank you for the support. $20 is a lot of money, man. I really appreciate that. That's big deal. ET. It is days instead of weeks until the election. Absolutely. Know when and where your early voting is at. Take your friends. Fill out all ballots on your ballot card. Make sure to go and vote. That's what today's show was actually going to be about. Was going to be an information show about early voting. But when I started watching these videos, I just got so pissed off. And this thought that I'm right here just took over. And we're going to do the early voting on Sunday. We'll still have a couple weeks left to vote, and it's important. It is important that you get out and vote as quickly as possible. But when you see it, John Williams, thanks for the support. What are you going to do when we win? Yeah, I hear you, brother. But there's a reason I'm saying this. And I know you're thinking, Paul, why are you being so negative, man? Why are you taking me there? When you think about everything that you're willing to do and the hit you're willing to take and the actions, you know, Kevin Roberts, well, it'll be bloodless if we let them. Well, I don't think I'll let you deport my grandson. I don't think I'll let you deport my family. I don't think I'll let you deport my friends. I don't think I'll let you create camps to throw Americans in. I don't think I'll allow you to persecute people just because they think like me. I don't think I'll let you take my free country and turn it into a fascist shithole. There's all of that. And then there's just voting. You can avoid all of that. And that's the message. All of that. all of the horrible things that we will have to do. And let's be honest, it'll be violent. It will. People are not going to gently go into that good night. When the camps go up, the fight will start. There's that. Or you can just vote. I mean, taking that day doesn't seem like that big of a deal in comparison, does it? Just making that voting plan, maybe get a family member or two to go down there with you, have a nice lunch. I keep telling you, grandmas, y'all got power. Get them grandkids, get them down there to vote. I mean, really, think about it, folks. I mean, that's our reality we're facing. You know, he's just sitting there talking about a government. You know, you just saw with his own words talking about the good old days when we had no government. The government wasn't doing anything. The government wasn't regulating our food supply. It wasn't regulating our drugs. It wasn't regulating, you know, a lot of drugs killed you back in the day. You had to be really desperate before you were taking drugs because it might have freaking mercury in it. It might have, you know, he's talking about that fondly, as though it's a good thing. And believe me, I live in Texas, folks. The struggle is real. They are getting rid of every freaking regulation, unless it's a vagina. And unless it's something the churches want, they'll do that all day long. But as far as regulation on business, no, we're going back to the bad old days. We're going back to the jungle, baby. And I would just like to remind you to Google, they wanted to process pustulated chickens. They did. The meat industry, that was a big push for them. There's a disease that caused chickens to break out in pustules that weep. And they wanted to be able to take the chickens. This was just a few years ago. They wanted to be able to take the chickens and cut away the pustulated part on the same damn table, cut it away, and then sell you the rest of the chicken. And the federal government said, no, hell no. But they're trying. So what do you want to do? We got a few minutes left. Let's have a roundtable discussion about that. What do you want to do? I mean, is it that big a deal to get out and vote now? I mean, if you put it in perspective, living under a Trump presidency and everything you will have to do versus, hey, man, just request that ballot. Just vote. Twisted Stepsister says early voting in New York, October 26th and November 3rd. Starts October 21st here in Texas. If you happen to know in your state, please mention it in the chat. I will bring it up on the screen. Yeah. What do you say, folks? We're in the roundtable. I'm turning it over to you. Do you think maybe, just maybe, you could vote? Peter Campbell, yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. Y'all fund this. There's nobody else. There's nobody else. Y'all are the ones funding this, and I'm grateful. You're the reason that we're here. You're the reason this community exists. Ken Applegate, Missouri, October 20th. Tennessee, 16th of October. Connecticut, October 21st. Missouri, October 22nd. We can do this, man. We can do this. October 18th in Louisiana. Virginia, September 20th. Or did I read that right? Nevada, October 19th. October 15th in Kansas. Arizona is already early voting. Several states are. So what do you think, folks? I mean, really, we're here. We're in the red zone, to use a football euphemism. We're in the red zone. Can we push? Can we score that touchdown? Because I got to tell you, a lot of people are very happy about the polls, and I hear a lot of people just getting a little complacent. You know, they're not showing up for the shows. They're not, you know what I mean? They're just feeling good. They think they're in a good place, you know, and it's going to be okay. I got to tell you, not a single poll ever won an election. Hillary Clinton was killing Donald Trump in the polls. You got to show up, folks. And I got to tell you, the racists and the bigots are going to. The racists and the bigots are going to show up. They are, 100%. So what do you say, folks? What do you think? While y'all are coming up with our next topic, I do want to remind people, Florida took a pretty hard hit. And a lot of people that need our help. And we need to stay focused. Donate where you can. I know not everybody can load up a truck and haul ass down there. But, you know, donate where you can. World Central Kitchen is a great resource. They're always on the ground feeding people, first responders and the like. There are several good causes. Again, we're a community. Link those. If you know a good cause that's worthy of our support, throw it up in the chat. You know, this whole reason for the live chat, the whole reason for the live show is we do it together, man. We do it together. So yeah, keep our Florida people in mind. Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia. I mean, South Carolina. I mean, there's a lot of people out there still hurting, still suffering. We're getting more and more reports of right-wingers. There was on Morning Joe this morning. They had a family member out there. He's out on the West Coast, and his dad is in North Carolina. And everybody and their brother and the family is begging him to get their dad to take some help. But his dad is a rabid Trumper and is convinced because, you know, Alex Jones and all the nutballs on Twitter and all the right-wing, you know, propagandists and misinformers on Twitter told his dad that if he fills out the FEMA paperwork, they're going to take his house. I appreciate the support, my man. I really do. Thank you. So, yeah, his dad is sitting out there with no food, no water, and the guy has no means to get in and help his dad. It's sickness. It's insanity. Republicans are a mental illness because, you know, you've got Republican politicians pushing this misinformation. It's not just nutballs on social media. The dude, Texas Paul, I will stand up by your side. We will win. Harris 2024. Amen, brother. Amen. Bryn Reed, thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, going the step beyond, not just voting, but volunteering. Amen. That's what it takes because, you know, we handle our own elections. I mean, this isn't something the government does for us. It is people within your own community that fulfill that framework. Yeah, that's another one. Can you believe these right-wingers? They think that they've got to the emergency assistance. The right-wingers are telling them they're going to have to pay it back, that the government's going to take it back from them. And of course, it's followed with that racist ass trope that well, the immigrants get it for free, but they're going to make you pay it back. And again, the lies have that small, thanks for bringing this up, by the way. It's a great point. People need to know this. Every good lie has a kernel of truth. And the kernel of truth in that one isn't that, no, you don't have to pay the emergency assistance back at all. That's a grant. You don't have to pay any of the grants back. But if you don't have flood insurance, what they're going to do is they're going to issue you a low interest loan to rebuild your home. And yeah, you got to pay that back. It's a loan. That's for what beyond the grants. Most people don't even need to get into that. But yeah, you were hit by a hurricane. It's a disaster. This is why people buy flood insurance. I mean, I know it's horrible, but yeah, that's what they're telling them. The emergency assistance, they're telling you you're going to have to pay it back. And that's just not true. That's just not true. It's what it's there for. But no, right-wingers are awful. Republicans are awful, awful, evil people. That is a great question, Jeff Test Pilot. How are you supposed to manage to pay back your low interest loan and pay your mortgage and replace all your possessions as well? Many can't. Many can't even qualify because there are credit requirements for the low interest loans beyond the grants. That's why they try to do as much as they can with the grants. But yeah, you're talking about a real conundrum going forward. And who do you want handling that situation as it unfolds? Think about Congress. Who do you want in Congress as we start having tens of thousands of people losing their homes and property because they can't rebuild it? They can't pay back the loans. You know, I hate to tell you this, but there's a history there. There's a history there. Political Musings with Amy. I'm a presiding judge on election day and an alternate lead clerk for our early voting. Amen. I really appreciate you. And thanks for the support. And thank you for volunteering to make our democracy work. Greg Edmond, again, thank you for the support. I appreciate you, our friends from Canada. I really do. Republicans have painted another target on immigrants' backs. FEMA deprives you and gives it to them. Amen. Amen. That's the whole story. But you know, let's keep talking about that. It's such a great point. And there's a history between the way the two parties act. Let's keep talking about those. What happens beyond the grants? Remember, there's a cap, $42,000 in emergency assistance for housing and repairing your home and whatnot. And then there's another $42,000 that they can for other expenses. It's capped at that. That's the most. Most people don't reach that point. It doesn't get to that point for most people. The overwhelming number of people just need a few $1,000s to get back on their feet. But if you're one of those rare cases that everything's just been demolished and you're running into the point where you have to go to the Small Business Administration to get loans and things like that. Yeah, it's capped. And that's really going to happen. That's really going to happen to people. That's why they're spreading this misinformation now, so that when those cases happen, those same people that are more than happy to have this system where you're destroyed, that take the money from the banks, that take the money from the billionaires, the people that are already buying up houses like crazy, And they're going to turn around and they're going to point at the Democrats and say, they did this to you. When Republicans control Congress. That is their plan, folks. Nothing like a good disaster and some pain and for the Republican Party. They love that stuff, man. They're going to do that. And what does history tell us? What does history tell us about who will do? Democrats will say, you know what? We need to pass grants to give to banks to avoid these loans. We need to pass grants to help people rebuild. Just look at student loans. Who's doing what on student loans? Democrats are doing everything they can to eliminate student loan debt because in education, if you're willing to get the education and put in the work, and education should be free to you. Democrats are trying to eliminate student loans. Who's suing them to stop that? The Republicans. Who's refusing? They're holding up legislation. They're holding up funding. And that's just student. What do you think they're going to do when Johnny Gotrocks has the opportunity to snap up riverfront land cheap? And Johnny Gotrocks is who writes their campaign checks. Oh yeah, man. They're gonna make sure that mess happens, and then they're gonna point fingers at Democrats. Uncle Russ, look at all the PPE loans Congress received and never had to pay back a penny back on. Amen. But then they turned around and they blamed the American people. They do it every single time. Remember 2008, the collapse, they blamed it on subprime loans. They blamed it on poor people. Too many poor people getting loans. No, it was speculators. Remember the liar loans, the ninja loans? Do you remember the mechanic that has no idea what to do with real estate, who's buying houses sight unseen at any price? Getting liars loans from banks because the Republicans gutted regulation on the banks and allowed them to do that. Who did they blame? Poor people, black people, and Democrats. When it was their billionaire buddies. That's what they're going to do again here, folks. That's what they're going to do again. They're going to allow this situation. And that's why I say I'm so grateful. I love you folks. Thank you for bringing the point of the low interest loans up, because you understand the history of it, what people do, what Democrats do versus Republicans do. That's the whole point of this show. Metal Mark 12, corporations buying up homes and raising the prices of housing. Our international audience, just so you know, this is a thing. This is really happening here in the United States. Billionaires had tons and tons and tons and tons of capital laying around, and they said, you know what's a good investment? A home. They just don't lose their value. Let's take that money and we'll put it in homes. And they bought up outstanding inventories in just every major market. Turned them into Airbnbs and rental properties, and they snatched up every home they could to the point we have a housing shortage now. We have a housing shortage now. And who do they blame? Poor people, immigrants, and Democrats. Every time. It's the same thing. So yeah, they're going to do it again. E.T., my man, thank you. Appreciate you. The preacher of the House is scared of them voting against FEMA and other emergency funds and how it could affect their different election chances. Yeah, That is another fact. That is another fact. We have no Republican leadership in the House, and they know the radicals among them are going to stand up and they're going to vote against FEMA funding. And because they don't want that optic, the Republicans won't even bring it up for a vote to solve some of these problems before they're a disaster. Before they're a disaster. They want to wait till after the election so that they don't have to be on the record voting against everything they're talking about, everything they're complaining about. They don't want to be held responsible. Rich, thank you for the support, my guy. I appreciate you. You folks are the only reason I can do this. Exactly, Peter. Exactly. That's the whole point. You know, Jeanette, that's what we're trying to do here. That's what we Democrats are trying to do. Emulate more of the rules that you have to protect your people. That's what we're trying to do with healthcare. That's what we're trying to do with housing laws. That's what we're trying to do. But every time we pass a law, these billionaires flood our political systems and our corporate media with misinformation to lie about what's happening. You know, student loan forgiveness, when they're trying to do that, all they did, the billionaires flooded our social media and the news with people that are bitter because they paid back their loans. And now you're having people getting their loans forgiven. And that's just not fair. Be aware. Yeah, that is another story that's coming out. That's going to be part of the Democrat. There are so many stories. I'm worried that it's going to be noise. They need to pick one and just hammer it. But that is a big one. Yes, Vance invested money in Ace Trader, which allows foreign investors to buy up American farmland. That is definitely, that is just a fact. That is what the vice president is and believes in. Mesmerized says, thank you for speaking to what the GOP had done to ensure regulations don't stand in their way of making it harder for working folks to survive. So much propaganda. I know. It's not speculation. You don't have to trust me. You can Google all of this. Stoneflower Dragon, thank you. Thank you for the support. $5 is a lot of money, man. Kremlin confirms Donnie gave Putin a COVID test for his personal use. Thanks for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. In the height of COVID, when we were all desperate, before you could get COVID tests, you remember it was Joe Biden that got those COVID tests put out. Donald Trump sent COVID tests to Vladimir Putin. Yeah, for him to personally use. Did he get anything, Mr. Great Deal? Did he get anything in return? No, not a damn thing. He gave them the technology. God, I love you people. I love you people. You're so informed. Uncle Russ, appreciate you. Yeah, he gave them the technology. Did he get anything in return? No. Just helped his buddy Pooty Poot. Putin had it before you, and Donald Trump made sure of it. It took Joe Biden. You remember the free COVID tests? You just went onto the website, punched in your address, and they sent you COVID tests. That took Joe Biden to do that. All of this stuff, it's just everywhere. I don't believe this election is close. I really don't. I just don't believe this election is close. I believe Donald Trump's shtick is tired. I believe people are done with it. I believe, yes, he's got that core of people that are just sick, bent, broken people that are going to vote for him. But I believe that we are going to win this election and win this election handily if you can be troubled to vote. And I don't mean your neighbor. I don't mean a guy you know. I don't mean your kids. I don't mean a friend. I don't mean, the person you think, forgive me, it's a bit warm in here, a person you think is going to show up and vote to handle it for you. Yeah, that's how we lose. You have to vote, folks. You have to vote. I love these roundtables. Independent, you're absolutely right. You can get not just free COVID tests, it's the new COVID tests. Some of the new variants don't show up in the old tests. Living fact, the last case of COVID I had, I tested negative 3 days in a row. Got the new test, positive as hell. Yep, Matthew Preble. That's another problem that we're dealing with. Foreign takeovers of land, water, resources. And which party, I'm asking you, which party is selling us out and which party is looking out for America's interests? Not just saying stupid shit like America First. Paul, I appreciate the support, my man. $20 is a lot of money. Thank you. Which party? I mean, I'm asking you. It's not a rhetorical question. Which party is standing up to foreign powers? Which party is telling the oil industry, hey, use leases or lose the leases? Produce. Which party is standing up for the American people? Which party is telling you education in this country should be free? We're going to forgive student loans. Which party? I mean, you can run your mouth about anything, but look at what we're doing. We got 2 minutes left, folks. We got 2 minutes left. Let's have a good one. Trina Longa, it should scare the hell out of folks to vote for a Putin puppet. It should. Putin puppet. It should. But there are some seriously broken people in this country right now. Alistair Crimson, first comment, man. Appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you. And I believe you're absolutely right. I think the media thinks that they're going to be okay no matter who's in office. And they think that it's going to be a great news environment, because government's boring and nobody watches when it's boring. If there isn't some big breaking news, people just don't show up. People don't pay attention. I mean, look, we had almost 3,000 people in the last show. We're down almost 33% in this show because people are feeling comfortable. People are feeling good. It's the way it should be, folks. I mean, put me out of a job, Nominate people that Old Texas Paul ain't got nothing to talk about but fishing. I'll do a fishing show. Oh, my God. I love sitting here reading your comments. I do. I really do. And I'm not kissing your ass. I'm telling you, folks. Y'all reminded me that there are good people here in this world. I love y'all being here. Best community anywhere on social media. Really. Just good people. I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to call you friends. Well, folks, it's been 80 minutes, if you can believe it. I think it blew by pretty damn quick. And I'm sorry about letting dumbass talk so much, but I think it's important, especially when you can compare it, juxtapose back and forth between President Obama and former President Obama and former President Trump, to see the difference. I appreciate you being so patient with so many clips and listening to that asshole talk. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.